So Labour have just made an absolutely huge decision, and one that I don't think is going to benefit them, and in fact may even cost them a bit moving forwards. And that is to do with the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, who recently, as of yesterday, applied to join the list of potential nominees for Labour for their latest by-election, which is going to take place in the first few weeks of May. And I'll just run through the story of how this all unfolded and what the implications are as of now. Obviously, my name is Alex on Politics. I'm independent and authentic, independent from all of the news companies and political parties, and I will always give my honest opinion. So this was started yesterday, obviously, when Andy Burnham, the great mayor of Greater Manchester, announced that he would like to apply to be Labour's nominee for the by-election that is coming up in May. He made a big statement where he didn't really say anything crazy or anything to take from it necessarily. Basically just said that he's really enjoyed his time as mayor of Greater Manchester. However, he thinks there are bigger problems in the UK. He mentioned a lot about the division and hatred in the UK, which I don't know whether he's talking about reform or the current Labour government, because we know he's been pretty critical about that. But I assume it's more on reform, and said that basically that the issues and the stuff that he wants to do with Greater Manchester can also be achieved if he is working on the national stage as well. Obviously kind of a hint there at becoming Labour leader. So that was all said. It was pretty much confirmed that he was probably going to apply for it anyway. And Keir Starmer's response was pretty interesting. The first thing that he did was he set up a national elective council for the Labour Party, which he basically just appointed about 9 high-ranking Labour figures, and their task was pretty much to just determine who exactly should be the Labour nominee for this by-election. Obviously, they have just come out and blocked that from happening, which wasn't really surprising at all. Pretty much the point of them doing that was to make sure that the person they put as their nominee is not going to challenge Keir Starmer's leadership, because that's what he is worried about. And I think that's a bad thing that he actually created this National Elected Council, because I think that the nominee that people should want for their constituency should be A, someone from their constituency, potentially, and B, it should be decided by the voters of that constituency who are also members of the Labour Party, rather than, high-ranking Labour figures who are clearly doing it for Keir Starmer's best interests, not the party's. And I think they really went about that in the wrong way. I don't see how that's fair, and I don't see how that's representing the people or their members at all. Now, obviously, it was pretty obvious that they were going to rule out Andy Burnham from being the nominee anyway. Andy Burnham, towards the end of last year, made a couple of comments, and there were a couple of rumours going around that he wanted to challenge Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership position and the Prime Minister, and that winning a by-election this year was going to be his inroad into doing that. And I think that Keir Starmer is seems to be very worried about his leadership position. We saw the same thing with Wes Streeting, where Wes Streeting, in the middle of the night, the government comes out with a statement basically berating Wes Streeting for apparently trying to work behind the scenes to challenge Keir Starmer's leadership, something that Wes Streeting denied himself. And so it's not surprising that that Andy Burnham has now been blocked from that. So my thoughts on given all of this is that, first of all, it should be the constituents who can decide who should be their nominee. It shouldn't be high-ranking Labour figures who are just doing it for their leaders' best interests, right? This isn't the Keir Starmer party, this is the Labour Party. They represent Labour's voters. I also think this is a bad decision because Andy Burnham is very popular. He won his election in 2024 as Mayor of Greater Manchester with 65% of the vote, which is literally double what Labour got in the 2024 general election. And a poll by Find Out Now was conducted the other day, saying that in a runoff between Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham, 48% of Labour voters would want Andy Burnham as the Labour leader, and only 26% of Labour voters would want Keir Starmer as the leader, showing that Andy Burnham is a lot more popular than Keir Starmer. He's also very more in touch with the people. He's had a good resume with Manchester so far. If you look at everything that's going on there, they've had great economic growth now consistently. They're growing at multiple times more than the rest of the UK and London, and a lot of that is credit to him and how he's transformed Manchester into the city that it is today. A growing city and a very outward looking and a city with a bright future ahead. But I think that not letting him run in as Labour's nominee is going to hurt them, because I think he would be a great candidate. I think he would probably win that by-election if he is the candidate. I mean, it is a Labour seat right now, and the fact that he's popular may actually revitalise or help revitalise Labour's image right now, which is not looking good to the public. You look at opinion polls, you look at, current by-elections that have happened in councils. They really need someone to revitalise their image, and bring something new. And I think he has that. He's got a good resume, as I've said, and he's very, very popular within Labour voters. He could probably help bring a lot of voters that Labour have lost since the 2024 general election back, should he have a high-ranking position as well. I think that in the national interest and the party's interest, he would be a great addition to have as an MP. However, you've then got to think about Keir Starmer's interests and high-ranking Labour figure interests, which is he's probably just going to challenge for the leadership positions, and then we're going to lose our jobs and our power, which is not the way to think about it. They're politicians, they probably are doing that, but that is why it would probably cause a bit of chaos in the government as well. But I think that for the party's interest and the national interest, I think that this is a very, very bad decision that they've blocked him from running in that seat. And we know exactly why, because they're worried that he's going to challenge for leadership. Now, this obviously is a good thing for the people of Manchester, because they get to keep their mayor. A lot of them were, yes, they were complaining that he wasn't going to finish his third term, so what was the point of getting elected and now having to hold another election should he take that seat? And also a lot of them are big fans of Andy Burnham and like what they've done to Manchester and would like him to continue rather than taking a national job and pretty much just forgetting about Manchester. But yeah, as a whole, I think that this is a pretty bad decision from Labour. It kind of shows that they don't really care about their own voters and their own members, seeing as they're just going to elect a board of high-ranking officials to decide who's going to be the nominee. For all we know, it might just be a Keir Starmer sycophant and who's just, who's going to do what he says rather than work for the people of his constituency. And it also surprises me that Labour don't want someone who can definitely beat reform, because that's what they're pretty much going on about all the time now. And then the second they have a by-election, they're not going to choose a really high-profile person that could probably win. But for the good of the party and for the good of the country, I think it's probably a bad decision that they've blocked him from doing that. And it doesn't put a good image on that party at all, because it literally just looks like it's the Keir Starmer party. It's not the Labour Party. It's not for the people or run by its members at all. I don't know where Labour will go from this. There's definitely going to be chaos now within the party, because people are going to be like, why are you deciding these things? We need someone new. I think the end of Keir Starmer is probably inevitable anyway. I don't know if he's going to survive until the next election, but he's not helping himself out here. And I think Labour really needs to look at themselves and think, who exactly are we representing? And are we making the right decisions for the country and for the party? Because blocking high-profile popular figures is not going to help them win any elections and get any more popular. But yeah, that's all from me. My name is Alex on Politics. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to follow my TikTok, nearly at 2,500 followers. Subscribe to my YouTube, nearly at 300 subscribers there. And I will see you all in the next video.